course, we love the fair for lots of different reasons. Families, the food, the slide, all these things are great. DNR Park, all of it is really great. But at the heart of the Ohio State Fair is, of course, agriculture. And even though at times it seems like if we live in Central Ohio, or if we live in Dayton, for example, we had a big deluge yesterday down there. But unfortunately, the farmers haven't been so lucky. And the fact of the matter is that we've had just terrible weather as it relates to our agriculture community. The heat is one thing, but when the heat does not bring rain, you have a real crisis. You know, and in agriculture, some years you get more rain than you know what to do with. This year, then you pray it stops raining. This year, it's been a crisis because there has been no rain. And the drought really has been, frankly, devastating to Ohio farmers. 52% of Ohio's crops are rated either poor or very poor. 90% of the topsoil has inadequate moisture to grow crops. And of course, what people don't really think about, if they've never been on a farm, is as you have less feed available for livestock, it means the price of that feed significantly increases. And then for those that have to feed the animals, that frankly they get themselves in a position of where they can't even raise their animals in a normal way. And we'll let Dave talk a little bit about this, but at some point, when it costs you more to raise them than it is to actually take them to market, sometimes you get to sell everything you have. And as has been pointed out to me, you'd be 55 years old and have to sell all of your livestock just to get through the year. So it's a terrible time for Ohio farmers. And you know, they're frankly my favorite entrepreneurs, because they get up in the morning and do their job, and they're up sometimes in the middle of the night having to tend to things, and they're self-reliant, but they're also as good a neighbors as you could ever find. And then they work to scratch out a living, because there aren't a lot of farmers that get rich. It's a tough life, but it's a great life because they're connected to the earth, to the soil. They're faithful. You have to have faith if you're going to be a farmer. And so this has been a tough year, and we want to get ahead of this. We're going to ask the federal government to make some resources available to Ohio farmers, particularly mostly in the area of loans. We'd like to see that program opened up for Ohio farmers. We will ask the federal government to do it. Dave Daniels are going to allow the farmers to be able to take hay in the state-owned right-of-ways. We will work to waive whatever the rules and the limits are on the amount of truck traffic we can have and what the weight limits are. They have to be waived for our farmers so we can move things to where they are. Dave is going to coordinate all the resources we could potentially have in Ohio. And this, of course, comes right on the heels of what was an extremely difficult period of intense heat. And I'm proud of the job that Nancy Dragani did over emergency management agencies, the cabinet, in coordinating our senior citizen contacts, the Ohio Department of Health, emergency management, and all the counties to make sure we got ahead of it. And I think we did, and I think we had as good an outcome as could have been possibly hoped for. But now we face this very difficult time for our farmers, caused by the kind of weather that it really was devastating to people all across the state. So we think the executive order will send an important message, but more important than any message it sends, it will provide some resources for people who find themselves in just a dire situation. Dave?
Well, thank you, Governor. It's a privilege to be here today at the fair. It's a great day for it to start out, but unfortunately we are facing some difficult times out in the farming community. We've been watching, as the Department of Agriculture, we've been watching the crop reports in the drought annex for about the last 8 weeks now, and obviously begin to notice in the first part of June that we were starting to get into a dry period that was going to start causing some problems down the road. I think that every farmer in the state of Ohio, regardless of where you live right now, is experiencing probably some economic loss. They might have a corn crop, but they probably have got a few less bushels per acre. I think that livestock farmers, I've talked to a lot of people that have begun started feeding hay about a half a month ago. And as we start to look at agriculture nationwide, this is not just an Ohio problem. This is a problem that has been scattered throughout the Midwest, and resources are going to be short this fall. I appreciate Governor Kasich's leadership on this. He was one of the first ones to call and say, what are you doing about it out there? And we have been working very closely with emergency management and other agencies, not only them, but stakeholder groups such as that can provide resources, whether it be extension, whether it be Farm Service Agency, NRCS, others, to try to see what opportunities there are out there to coordinate. So I appreciate your leadership on this, and I know very well that you understand how important agriculture is to Ohio's economy and to our community, and thank you for your support of the executive board.
Nancy, have you ever spoken at a thing like this?
I have, sir.
Oh. Well, I thought it was going to be your first time, but why don't you come and tell them the kind of programs that you think will be available to our farmers. Nancy runs emergency management here in the state. She does an outstanding job, and maybe you can provide a little bit more of the granular information you may want to know.
Certainly. Well, and again, the farming community isn't a stranger to the kind of programs that the United States Department of Agriculture provides to the Farm Service Agency. And those are really the federal programs that we're talking about. Loan programs in concert with the USDA, Farm Service Agency programs, the Small Business Administration, should the President grant the governor's request, will open up that program for farm-oriented, farm-dependent businesses like Feed and Seeds, in addition to the things that the governor talked about that are very specific that Ohio can do. Like allowing some of the hay to be taken off the right-of-ways, allowing some of that truck traffic to occur that may not be allowed under normal circumstances. So it certainly is an opportunity for both the state as well as working with our federal partners in the Ohio Department of Agriculture to try and free up resources for the farming community.
Okay.